Welcome back. My name is Daniel Drack, and I'm one of the instructors for the Live Events Super Course, the course that produced Mass Exodus 2021. On tonight's episode, the students are going to be walking you through their creative process, including some of the obstacles that they faced. They'll also be discussing their evolution as artists, creatives, and designers over the course of their time here at Ryerson. Enjoy!
Every year that I've been in this program, I have been incorporating more and more technology into creating and designing my garments, incorporating laser cutting, 3D printing, 3D modeling, and coding in order to integrate technology.
Sustainability is definitely the one that's closest to my heart. Over the past couple of years, I've been pushing towards a zero-waste lifestyle, and I was really inspired to do that with my photography. So in this project, all the sets and costumes and props are all made out of repurposed items or secondhand.
I went into fashion school, I think like everybody else, wanting to be a famous fashion designer or something. I realized that I wanted to change the industry rather than fit into it. So I'm trying to figure out what sustainability means to me and how I can curate sustainable fashion to people who it might not appeal to.
Over the course of the 4 years, I've kind of built up my toolkit and my knowledge of design, and I finally have a lot of those questions answered, those questions that I came with in first year. So I'm definitely leaving the program now with a lot more information and a lot more skills than when I showed up.
Not only have my skills and knowledge expanded, but I've ultimately found my design style, which is designing athleisure and streetwear-inspired clothing. Additionally, I fell in love with creating my own textile designs, which really elevate my designs.
The structure of the guiding principles allowed me to build an inclusive lens into my entire research process. And from there, I was constantly inspired to seek out different opinions, different perspectives, and different experiences, and constantly ask myself how I could put inclusion first in the development of this organization and the service that it's going to offer.
For the first couple of years, I stuck to what I knew when it came to drawing, like using pencil crayons, pens, pastels, that sort of thing. But then once I had learned to create digitally, I started exploring that more and then started using it for a bunch of different pieces.
I remember when I first started doing my collection at home, I didn't have any inspiration. I couldn't find any inspiration, and I didn't have any motivation to even start my collection. It took me quite a while to figure out my actual mood for this collection.
My bedroom has doubled as my pattern drafting room, where my walls were filled with pattern drafting paper and the floors were covered in patterns. The living room has been turned into my sewing, ironing, and fabric cutting stations, and my poor mom has been so supportive in me transforming the entire apartment to a makeshift grow hall lab. Although it is not an ideal space to work in, I am very grateful that I have the space and the supplies to be able to work from home.
As a Hong Kong Canadian who didn't grow up here, that whole identity crisis of trying so hard to be a Canadian but I don't know how. I think it was in the second year. At the end of the second year, I did this year-end portfolio project. It made me realize how special my identity is and I should be embracing it. So that's why, as you can see now, this is when I started to change my style, design direction into a very East Asian streetwear-nistic style.
Sourcing fabrics and sourcing equipment to work with has been a lot harder right now, considering fabric stores and equipment is a little bit less accessible than it was before. On the side of creating the garments, I haven't found that has changed that drastically. So I guess there's this sort of divide between familiarity and the unknown in the production of my garments, which is kind of good and bad.
I had a lot of difficulty trying to express what I wanted to express. There was a lot of trials and errors, and it was a huge learning process, and I'm really proud of where I am today. And I feel like this collection shows how my final stage on how I got to where I am. I created everything that I created with all my knowledge that I have up until this day.